What's up, nerds? I cover a lot of nerdy stuff on this channel, but D&D might be the most nerdy. The first game of D&D I ever played was when I was in like 3rd grade at my friend's up the street. We did a sleepover and his older brother DM'd for me and him. Had an amazing experience. Couldn't stop playing since. From high school on, I was basically a forever DM. I don't even remember the last time I actually played as a player character. And it's something I've enjoyed personally for a very long time. I've never played a system of tabletop RPG that wasn't a Roll20 system. From Pathfinder to like the Star Wars role-playing game. And there are all kinds of them out there. But now some of the internet's favorite creators have come together to make something brand new. This is Daggerheart. If you're familiar with D&D Online, I'm sure you've heard of Critical Role. Matthew Mercer's friend group of voice actors narrate D&D campaigns they run, including The Legend of Vox Machina. It's its own series on Amazon Prime. They've created a D&D competitor that does things a little different, and I was able to snag the Daggerheart Core Set just a little early. We're gonna unbox this, go over what's inside, and talk a little bit about how Daggerheart's different from your typical D&D. But before we dive in and break this box open, make sure to like this video if you dig this kind of content, subscribe if you want to see more, maybe hit that notification bell if you're feeling frosty. All right, let's break this core set open, shall we? We're gonna take the plastic off. Once the plastic's off, there's no going back, right? There we go. Now let's see, the core set. Daggerheart is a heroic fantasy tabletop role-playing game designed for narrative-driven play, punctuated by fast-paced dynamic combat. The system's collaborative tools encourage everyone at the table to be a storyteller. From everything I've looked up and researched about Daggerheart, the game is very, very narrative-focused. Everything about the roles you make, the decisions you make, combat itself, the things that happen, all of the chance associated with everything, all of it is narrative-driven. So of course we have the core rulebook. We also have this handy dandy magnetic case here, this crazy looking three-eyed, is it three eyes? Three-eyed stag. And I think this is where our cards are. Now you can see there are a lot of cards that come in the core set. These cards help you with character creation because rather than having everything just kind of run through a chart or a list or a big piece of paper in a book, the way you build your character, like it's saying taking feats, taking abilities, taking spells, things of that nature, all run through cards. I mean, if you've played D&D, I'm sure you're familiar with like spell cards, ability cards, things like that. It's something that Wizards of the Coast has added to their systems for a while now. Daggerheart is doing something very similar, but they're also incorporating character backgrounds, your race information, and basically everything that comes with building your character into these cards for quick access and reference. It's actually a really smart idea. Not everybody has to have their own player handbook. You just have to have a couple of these cards that you can even just, print off proxies of to have all of your like essential character information right there that might not necessarily be immediately accessible in your character sheet. So let's take a look at the core rule book here. Now, one thing I do not see in this core set, which is interesting, are a set of D12s. Would have liked to have had a Daggerheart set of D12s. Daggerheart is not a D20 system. It is a D12 system. You roll 2 D12s instead of a D20. So we've got our welcome section, we've got world overview, different realms that exist in this world, because it's going to be different from D&D, right? They're going to have created their own thing. We've got the guide to character creation. Here are the classes: Bard, Druid, Guardian, Ranger, Rogue, Seraph, Sorcerer, Warrior, and Wizard. Under each one of those, there's a different kind of subclass, right? So for Bard, you have the Troubadour and the Wordsmith. For the Druid, you have the Warden of the Elements or the Warden of Renewal. For Guardian, you have the Stalwart or the Vengeance, for our edgelords out there, For Rangers, we have the Beastbound and the Wayfinder. For the Rogue, we have the Nightwalker and the Syndicate. For the Seraph, we have the Winged Sentinel and the Divine Wielder. For the Sorcerer, we have an Elemental Origin and Primal Origin. Warrior, we have the Call of the Brave and the Call of the Slayer. For Wizard, we have the School of Knowledge and the School of War. There are also lots of different races. They call them ancestry in this, right? You've got Clanks that are like robot people, Ribbits that are like frog people, Katari that are like cat people. There's some furry stuff in here, isn't there? Galappa, tortoise people. Get it? Galappa, Galapagos. Fairies, fauns, halflings, Dracona, which are like dragonborn, dwarves, humans, orcs, kind of the standard fare, and some other things that are brand new and unique to just this, like the Fungril. They're fungus people. Even the base stats that you have on your character sheet are going to be different. You have agility, which controls things like your sprinting, your leaping, your maneuvering, your strength, which is like lifting, grappling, breaking things, your finesse, which is like dexterity, but a little different, your ability to like tinker with things and have fine motor control, your instinct, your ability to navigate, perceive things, sense things. Your presence, which is like your charisma, your charm, your deception, things like that. And then your knowledge, your ability to quick recall, to analyze things, comprehend what's around you. You can see each of the different classes has its own section in here as well, with some gorgeous original art. See a couple examples here where things may be a little different. For fairy, for example, is a race in this, and you can either be like your traditional sprite kind of fairy, or you could be like an insectoid kind of thing. What is a furbolg? It's cow people! They have cow people! There's the fungrel, the Galapagos tortoise people, goblins, giants, humans, halflings. There's the Qatari, Infernus, which look like tieflings. And then you can also be something of mixed ancestry, it looks like, which allows you to kind of mix and match aspects of different ancestral backgrounds. You've got a little compendium of different monsters that you can reference in here. Or, you know, it's a role-playing game. The DM can always just make up their own too. That's the really cool thing about tabletop role-playing games like this. If you've got a creative DM and the DM knows the system, they can basically homebrew whatever they want as long as it falls within the lines of the system. So it's really cool they give you so much reference material in this book. Once you've got a knack for it, you could very easily just build out all of your own stuff and not have to worry about this pre-made stuff either. They've even got a list of like little one-shot campaigns you can do in here to get started. That's cool. Okay, and then an appendix. So like I said, it's not all just about what's listed in the book. You also have these cards. Now, when you're building out your characters, you use these cards to customize them. So let's say I wanted to be a bard, right? So I've got 3 different cards here, which are the foundation of being a wordsmith, your specialization as a wordsmith, and your mastery as a wordsmith. And I imagine that you unlock the abilities on each of these cards as you level up. Levels in Daggerheart, I believe, just go 1 through 10. So while you could build things out for an extended campaign, it might be a little bit of a slower pace or a shorter campaign than you might expect going 1 through 20 in a D&D 5e system. Don't know, haven't tried it yet. I want to try it. I got all the stuff. You can see here there are also race cards. See, like Clank, Dracona, Dwarf, Elf. So that way, if I wanted to play a Clank, see, Clanks are sentient mechanical beings built from a variety of materials, including metal, wood, and stone. Purposeful design. Decide who made you and for what purpose. At character creation, choose one of your experiences that best aligns with this purpose and gain a permanent +1 bonus to it. Efficient. When you take a short rest, you can choose a long rest move instead of a short rest move. I think that would be super interesting to roleplay. Character creation in this is also pretty wildly different than D&D, or at least how I've experienced character creation in D&D over the years. There's a lot more expressive freeform in the character creation in Daggerheart, which I think is really refreshing. A lot of the different experiences that your character has, even down to the way that your character takes damage, it's not all set in stone as it would if it were on like a graph or a chart or picking things off of a feat list. Like, you can just randomly come up with a character experience, like say, oh, my character has a soft spot for the weak. And so in any kind of narrative sense, you see somebody weaker being attacked, oppressed, anything like that, maybe you get a +1 to try to intervene. But then any way that can be expressed narratively, you can then apply that skill. Like, maybe you actively choose to use a weaker shield because your character has sympathy for the weak and doesn't want to get rid of their shield because they're sentimentally attached to it or something. I don't know. But things like that apply to all kinds of experiences that you get to just kind of make up the, you know, GM's yay or nay to put on your character sheet. If you guys want to see me actually go through and build out a character using this system, you can leave it in the comments. That would have to be its own entire video. Probably invite one of my buddies over to just kind of like shoot the shit and talk back and forth and do it together. But yeah, these cards are really neat. I really want to dig into these and see all of the different possibilities. The thing about doing this in this fashion too is going to make it very easy to expand this system. So by doing everything based on these cards rather than just extensive sheets upon sheets of tables and graphs and books, you can very easily and cheaply come out with upgrades to your system and expansions to your system without having people to go out and spend $30 to $50 on a new book. Might be able to spend $10 on a deck of cards. A couple things I wish would have come in this kit so far. Again, dice. If I'm going to get a core set for a new role-playing game, I'm going to want everything I need to start playing. That means dice. Like I said, this is a 2d12 system, not a d20 system. I might be somebody who only has 1 set of dice, and then I only have 1 d12. I can't play at that point. I'm gonna have to go out and spend more money on dice. The dice system in this is kind of crazy. You roll 2 d12. One is your hope die, and one is your fear die. And you roll both, you add both of the numbers together, and that's your roll total. So you can go up to 24 instead of 20. But whichever dice is higher affects the outcome narratively. So if I roll 2 dice, and my hope dice is a 8 and my fear dice is a 4, I've succeeded with hope, meaning that I'm going to get my way. I'm going to get whatever I wanted out of this outcome, and I'm going to get a liquid resource onto my character sheet called hope that I can use to activate abilities and triggers and things to help my allies. So if I roll a 4 in hope and an 8 in fear, I've succeeded with fear, meaning that I'm still going to get my way, but there's going to be some stipulations, some strings attached, and some caveats. The GM is also going to get a fear token that they can use in combat against the players. If you fail, but your hope roll is higher, if I roll a 4 with hope and a 1 with fear, I'm not going to get my way, but I'm still going to get a hope token, so it's kind of like a silver lining to the situation, and the results might not be as catastrophic. But if I fail with fear, everything's bad. Worst case scenario. GM gets a fear token to use in combat against the players, and it's going to be a shitty situation. But you can see how examples like that narratively expand the ability of this game to storytell no matter who it is that's rolling, whether it's the GM, whether it's the players. Having narrative stakes baked into potential different results, whether you succeed or fail, and even having a scale of success to failure, not just a black and white success or failure, but a scale where it's success with hope, success with fear, failure with hope, failure with fear. It creates a lot more narrative options for not only the GM to narrate and storytell, but also for the players to get creative in how they want to solve different problems. I think that's really cool. Again, I want dice in this kit. Why didn't it come with dice? It also didn't come with any character sheets, which is freaking nuts. How does it not come with character sheets? So like you have an example character here. This is an example of the character sheet. There are character sheets in this, but like it didn't come with any paper copies. Like I can flip back to the appendix and I can find the character sheet. And I guess that might be also in part because every class has its own independent character sheet with different things on it. This is the stock standard page 1 of the character sheet, but every character is going to have different pages and different things that they're going to need. Oh, that's cool. They've got different maps of different regions of the world that they've made, or at least the stock world for each of the different campaigns that they've built into the book. That's neat. So I guess, yes, save paper. You can always go out and just print off what you need. I can just take this to the library, take this to, you know, the Kinko's or whatever, scan in this character sheet from the back of the book, print out the pages that I need. I mean, yeah, I can do that. I really would have liked to have gotten some stock in the kit itself, so I don't have to go out and make extra stops or go out and have to run errands to play the game I just bought. And this is something that's been in a lot of their promo material. They want to be method of play agnostic. They want to be just as viable playing in the theater of the mind, where you don't have a map in minis and like tabletop combat. Everything is done pen and paper and you're imagining and talking out and narrating everything. To be fair, that's how I've done campaigns since high school. I very rarely used minis and tabletop combat when I've done campaigns. That stuff's expensive. They want to be just as viable in theater of the mind as they would be also using tabletop strategic tactical combat, which is cool. I still would have liked to have gotten some tabletop maps, maybe some just asset tokens, some character tokens, just some cool little shinies to go with the new big shiny thing I want to try out, you know? And I get that this is all very new. This is the core set. This is just launching. So maybe more stuff is going to be coming down the road. On the whole, I'd say I'm fairly satisfied with the Daggerheart Core Set. There's definitely some things that I think really should have come in this, especially if somebody's going to be picking up and playing this instead of D&D, instead of Pathfinder, instead of another alternate role-playing game. You can't just assume that people are coming into this game in particular already having background knowledge and supplies from another role-playing game. You really just can't. And I feel like that's kind of where this is coming from. This is coming from a place where they're expecting you to already have a plethora of role-playing experience and supplies. Because somebody just interested in playing a new tabletop game but not having any of that stuff can't just buy this. They're going to need to go out and get a bunch more stuff. That's something that I think Wizards does very well in their new player kits and their intro kits, and at least from what I've experienced in the past. Everything you need to run a starter campaign, boom, right there, immediately at your fingertips. From dice to maps to little figures to however you want to play it, everything's there. And for like a $60 price tag, I would have expected, I think, a little bit more from this than just a book and some cards. However, I am very excited to dig in and try it out. I am not new to D&D or the space, and I do have supplies, so I will be able to just dive in and play. Would you want to see me build a character and see kind of how that process goes? Leave it in the comments, but I'm pretty excited about this. And again, if you like this kind of video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Later, nerds!